Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. So let's start with today's session and let me see what exactly we are doing today. Before we start, any questions guys? Any doubt? Anything related to any topics which you have done? And hopefully everyone has practiced whatever concept we have learned till now. Virtual machine, virtual network, storage account. And there were multiple security concept, networking concept, resiliency concept which we have learned in this 2 weeks. Hopefully everyone has practiced it, and if yes, if you guys have any questions, any doubt, please do let me know before I start a new topic. Kishore, yes Kishore.
During VMSs, so we have already, the availability set and availability zone, right? So that is possible to migrate to VMSs is a part of any operations, daily operations.
I'm trying to understand the question again. So you said like you have already availability set and availability zones. Your VMs are there in availability set and availability zone, and you want to pass on to VMSs.
Migrate to, yes.
Migration to VMSs. So see, VMSs, the things which you need when you set up VMSs. Okay, you need load balancer and everything. So migration is like your VM needs to you already have VMs created. So when you create VMSs, you'll get an option to group your existing VMs also. So there is no such migration or things will be needed. You can directly add your VMs, your IP things and everything you can add to it. The only thing I think you should have in the same region, your resources should be in the same region. So your actual application migration or VM migration, anything as such is not required. Just create VMSs, add your existing VMs to that VMSs group, and that's it. You're done. Okay, makes
Yeah,
sense?
that's what. Yeah. Yes. So and one more question.
Yeah, Kishore.
When we create custom images, right?
Mm-hmm.
We created CentOS 7 image. We already deployed using VMSs using the CentOS 7 image.
Mm-hmm.
So tomorrow was planning to upgrade the image. We have 7 before, want to upgrade 7.4 or 7.9.
Okay.
So as I seen in the video, from the scratch we need to create the image, right? You in the video I seen actually.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, once you recreated the image, that image we can loop to existing auto scaling.
Yes.
Change the existing one to new.
Yeah. So you're saying the version of your image got changed. Okay, and you are using
Yes,
some other,
yes.
and you need to upgrade your image version. Yeah.
Uh,
You.
Anything version or any
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Understood.
application did any changes.
So that image needs to be updated again. So in such cases, you need to make use of a gallery, Azure gallery. Okay, so gallery, so the one which we did, we haven't used any gallery. We just simply created an image. That image was again used into your VMSs. Okay, any such versioning and all things are happening. So you need to update, make use of Azure gallery, wherein you will have easily you can do versioning, easily you can do upgrade, and easily you can deploy things to your existing resources. Okay.
Okay, Rohit, understood.
Yeah, so Azure Gallery, I'm not using exact term. Let me see it, the name. I think in the last session we talked about this, correct? Azure Gallery.
Yes, so it's Azure Gallery.
Yeah, Azure Gallery. Yeah, that's the right name.
Yes, Azure.
So basically, this will help you organize your custom images, share images, and replicate images to multiple region. Okay.
Correct.
So, but VMSs, I'm still have a doubt. VMSs, can we upgrade to an existing already created to an different one? Yeah, good question, Kishore. We'll have to see it in practical only, then we'll understand. We'll try
Yes,
to
yes. That's
carry.
actually
Correct. Yeah, very good.
yesterday I created VMS.
Uh-huh.
So I was planning to do such case. It's possible or not. I've seen, but I didn't get any options like that. That's why
Okay.
because want to ask.
Okay, very good question. Let me go through it. Let me see. Because we are talking about OS image over here. OS image changes at the VM level. That means the VM needs to be recreated. That is what I think. But let me go through it and let me get back to you on this by tomorrow. Okay. Let me see if VMSS supports anything as such or not at first place. Okay. Makes sense?
Okay, okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? Any other question? I want such questions, guys, like the way Kishore has come up with multiple questions, because this is scenario based questions and you may get questions in interview regarding this. Okay, so keep this in mind. While pairing two VNets, with what practical issues we face? Pairing. Uh, Bharati, pairing, what issues you will face? Because one, why do we do pairing at first place? Okay, if when you want to have two networks and the resources within the two networks wants to communicate with each other, and the communication happens over the private network. Issues, I would say, like if you're connecting two different regions, suppose you have one VNet created in US, one is in India, then there could be latency issues which you can face, network latency which you can face. Other than that, the communication is all happening on private network, so there's no public, no uh, no internet, no routing is happening from internet. So other than network latency, delay in network, delay in packages, all this is what I can think. But if you have the same VPC in the same region, okay, so if you're using East US, all both your virtual network is in East US, so network latency is also minimalistic. So even that issue is very minimalistic. And apart from it, nothing I can think of. What could be other issues you may be facing with VNet pairing? Okay, makes sense, Bharti? Okay, what is this? Can you explain real-time?
Yeah, Rohit, thank you.
No problem. Real-time scenario where that use of load balancer and NAT are required. Okay, there are many scenario load balancer. In 100% of time you'll be using load balancer, Babatunde. Like if you have an application, front-end application, okay, which is serving pages, your front-end pages, so you want your application to be behind a NAT load balancer. Okay, why it should be behind the load balancer? There are many reasons. Firstly, the network will be divided, your traffic will be divided, one VM will not get loaded with n number of traffic, so your traffic is getting divided, plus it adds a extra security. What security? Your load balancer is, because we all know that if you want to connect to public internet, we need a public IP. So if you have a load balancer in place, so you don't have to assign public IP to your VMs. You will have public IP to your load balancer. And if suppose if there is a hacker who is trying to hack your application, who is trying to enter your applications, so what he will get? He will get a access to your load balancer through the public IP. He'll still not be able to reach to your VMs. So again, an extra layer of security is added. NAT. Now just imagine those VMs which you're using, those are behind load balancer, and those are not on internet. Those are on private IP. Now there could be a scenario that you want to connect to internet using that VM also. Obvious reason, like suppose you want to do a Linux patching. It's a Linux machine, you want to do an update, you want to upgrade your OS and things like that you want to do. Okay, in such cases you will go and download packages from repository. You will need internet. At that time you'll be using NAT. So all your routing will happen. So even NAT is basically nothing but it will also have a public IP in short, guys. So all your network from your VM to internet will happen through NAT. So again, you're not assigning any public IP to your VMs. Through NAT, a NAT again has a public IP through which you are connecting to internet. Yeah, Kishore, answering to your question about OS upgrade. So yeah, additionally, you don't have to do it. You can, in VMS, if you have the VMs, you will log into the VM and you will update your OS. So yeah, you will not create any additional separate image for that. If there is a version change, like suppose you're using CentOS 7, now it's CentOS 8 in the market, okay? So in such cases, you will not go and create a new image and attach it to your VM and things like that. No, you will have a set of VMs. You can log into the set of VMs and you can go and update your OSs. That makes sense?
Yes, I got
Yeah,
it.
if it's application, then application we can handle using ACR. We can create an image, we can put the image into ACR, then from ACR we can deploy to your application directly. You're not touching the OS in that case. But if it's OS, all thanks to NAT, you can directly log into the VMs, update your packages. Okay,
Got it.
no problem. Baba, hopefully that answers your question. Real-time scenario about load balancer and NAT.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay guys, let's start with today's topic and let's see what exactly we are doing today. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Okay, we are starting with Linux, guys. Linux, basic Linux. What are the things which will cover in Linux? Let's see that first. We'll talk about Linux essential commands. We'll talk about user and group management in Linux. We'll talk about file systems and permissions in Linux. We'll talk about Linux editor. To be specific, VI and Vim. We'll talk about package management in Linux. Okay. The first question is, why do we need Linux? Many of you guys will know, if you want to be a successful in DevOps, you have to have good understanding of Linux. I'm not telling that you have to be Linux administrator, guys, or you have to go and crack RSCE certification of Linux. No, you're not Linux administrator, you are DevOps engineers, and these are the things which you will require as a DevOps engineer to work with Linux. You will be installing packages very frequently. You will be working with Linux commands very frequently. You'll be creating directories, folders. You will be adding users. You'll be deleting users. You will be working with Linux editor, Linux notepad very frequently. You'll be working with file permissions very frequently when you work as a DevOps engineer. Okay, so such basic things, having basic knowledge of Linux is very important, not just from DevOps perspective. If you want to be successful in IT, whether you work as a system admin guy, whether you work as a L1 L2 support engineer, whether you work as a cloud administrator, you have to be very familiar with Linux command. The black shell what you see, you have to be familiar. Now many will say, why? If I'm a L1 L2 guy, why? Now being a L1 L2 guy, what is your responsibility? You will get a list of commands from developers and you need to go and execute those. And if suppose the servers, mostly the servers will be on Linux, you have to run those commands on Linux, and if you don't know what that black screen is all about, how will you do that? So 90% of time, the high servers what you see available in the market, those are based out of Linux. You see Windows mostly in the front end, mostly the laptops and all you see, those are Windows. When we talk about backend, then we talk about Linux over there. Okay, so this is the whole reason why we need to understand Linux. And from DevOps, if you are a DevOps engineer, you should know Linux, as simple as that. Okay, I'm not defining that you don't need to know Windows. No guys, you need to know Windows as well, but bit of Windows. The reason Linux, all DevOps tools are Linux native tools. When we talk about Kubernetes, Docker, they all started on Linux. Eventually nowadays you can install it on Windows also, but actually if you ask me, it is not getting installed on Windows. On Windows you're using a Ubuntu layer, on top of it you're enabling hypervisor, and then you're installing your Docker. Okay, in my laptop I have Docker installed, so I know how exactly it works. So it's not exactly working on Windows. And Ansible you cannot use on Windows. You cannot set up Ansible administrator server on your Windows machine. Though you can manage Windows servers using Ansible, I'm not denying on that. You can manage Windows server using Ansible, but actual installation and everything of Ansible will happen on Linux machine itself. So these are the reasons why you need to, if you want to be successful, Linux is required. No deep dive knowledge, guys. You're not a Linux administrator. You don't have to understand the boot cycle. You don't have to understand what is FS tab, this, that and all. No. Basic understanding of Linux. How do we work with Linux? How do we run commands on Linux? How the package management works? How do I install packages? How do I delete packages? How do I work with files? That's it. Okay. That is what my focus area would be. So keeping that in mind, let's talk about what exactly is Linux. Linux is nothing but it's a operating system kernel. I'll talk about kernel in a bit. What is kernel? We'll understand kernel in details, but for now let's understand Linux is nothing but it's a operating system. So you might have heard about Unix, correct? The older version of Linux, prior to Linux, Unix. What exactly Unix is? Unix was also an operating system. Linux is nothing but it's a clone of Unix. It was created by Linus Torvald. From scratch, this guy has created Linux, but he made use of Unix. He cloned Unix, and on top of it he's created a new version and started calling it as Linux. I have worked on Unix also in my career. I have worked with Unix also. Now I am working with Linux. Linux is free and open source. So what does that mean? Well, when I say free and open source, that means that you can simply change anything in Linux, redistribute in your own name. There are multiple flavors available: Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, Debian, Fedora. And Linux is mainly used in servers, guys. So as of now, nowadays even people started using in personal computers. In my ex company, I was using Linux as my I was given an option, what you want, Linux, Windows or Mac. I selected Linux at that time, and in my system they have given me Ubuntu 1804. Okay, so yeah, nowadays people started using in front end also. It's not that popular in front end. I cannot give everyone to use, I cannot expect everyone to start using Linux, but nowadays they have come up with GUI, graphical, like same like Windows, click 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 and your things will be done. But if you want to make use of 100% capability of Linux, then you should be familiar with the command line. Okay, whatever GUI they give you, it makes life easier for others who doesn't know. But yeah, if you want to make 100% use of Linux, then you have to know the command line. That keep in mind. Okay, why do we use Linux? It's fast, secure, and more importantly, it is free. How do I say it is fast? Let me tell you. I have one old system, old laptop. The config is 4 gig of RAM and 2 CPU. That's very old. It's around in the year 2007 or 8 I have bought that. Okay, that is from my college perspective. I bought that. At that time it was very fast and it was having Windows XP. Now as if now I have I had Windows 7 installed on it, but it was very slow, so sluggish, because I cannot, even if I want to log in, it takes around 20-25 minutes. So what did I do? I removed the operating system and I have installed Ubuntu on it. 16.04, it's still running on it right now, and it is so fast that I have created multiple YouTube videos on that laptop. If you go and look on my channel, some old videos, I have created those videos on that machine using Ubuntu. Just imagine how optimized Linux OS is. On Windows, definitely it was not working. It was like a scrap. If I was using Windows, it was like a scrap. I was about to throw, then I thought of changing the OS, and I thought, let's try how it works. It's still working like a gem, no issues. I was able to set up Apache server on top of it, and I was hosting my own web page, like my devopsmela.in, the website. Some days I was hosting on that that machine, okay, and I was keeping it. Now my website is hosted on GoDaddy. That's a different story, but this is how the whole point over here is how Linux is more optimized as compared to Windows. Okay, so the OS, for example, 80% of smartphones in the world uses Linux kernel, guys. Which smartphone it is? Android. Where it work? It is also made from Linux kernel. Most of the viruses runs on Windows machine, but not on Linux. So even the hackers, the viruses they create, they target the front end, people like you and me, and easily Windows gets exposed to such viruses. Hacking a Linux machine, I'm not saying that you cannot hack a Linux machine. Yeah, it's still hackable, but it's not that easy. Keep that in mind. So these are some important benefits of using Linux. I'm not telling like go and install Linux on your OS, guys. You have to be in sync with the world. The world is using the Microsoft Word and everything, and you have to be in sync with the world. Use Windows. In Windows, have a virtual machine installed. In that, use Linux. Okay, have a Oracle virtual machine installed, and just inside that have a Linux OS installed, and keep a practice of the command line. Okay, but nowadays, even if you see in my system, even though if I don't have Linux, I use this bash shell. If you guys have noticed, even for connecting to Linux machine, I'm using this bash shell. So this shell is all my Linux command basically works in this. Most of my Linux command, this pwd, ls, cd, make directory, touch, all this basic commands will work, because this is what exactly it is. It's a bash. It's a shell. Using the shell, you can run all your basic Unix like command. Okay, but I do even have Ubuntu installed in my system. I got Ubuntu on Windows. This is how, if you see this, I got Ubuntu installed on my system. This is how I'm running my Docker also. I have uninstalled Docker now because that was of no use. So, but this is how it works. Okay. So keeping that in mind, this is about Linux. Now Linux, all these flavors, what exactly these flavors are? This is nothing but, guys, they are using the same kernel, and on top of it they are doing different set of customization, and they are launching the customization in the world, and they have given different names to it: Ubuntu, Red Hat, CentOS, and all this, the names. So basically what they do, they are using the underlying kernel. Now what exactly is kernel? Can anyone tell me what do you understand with this word kernel?
Yeah, the kernel it will interact from hardware to application. It's a mediator for the hardware to application.
No,
In between.
I don't want technical words. Simple meaning of kernel. When I say kernel, in army, who is a colonel?
The main person.
Correct. The commander of chief. Correct. We can say that.
Yes. Yes.
who is responsible of commanding the troops, the soldiers, who is guiding the soldier. Okay, you go and who is giving the responsibilities to the soldiers, that you go and guide the border, you go and guide the cities, and all this responsibility is getting allocated by the army chief, correct? He is the colonel. Now why exactly this word was used in kernel over here? Now before I go and explain what exactly is a kernel, just understand this kernel is a main component in your Linux operating system. Without kernel is the core component. Without kernel nothing will happen, in short. So as rightly said, a interface between computer hardware and its processors. So as mentioned, that it's a interface, it's a mediator between the resources available with you and the process requirement. Okay, now this is bit of technical. Let's break this into a very simple and layman term and understand this. Just think of a library, correct? Now you want to acquire some books in library. If there is no librarian, what you will do, you will go and start digging into all the rows looking for your book, and after digging into 100 rows, on the 101 row you found your book. How much time you wasted in digging in all this, and how much resource you wasted. Whenever you are walking through the row, you're taking that space, correct? Taking the space, digging into the each row, checking the books. Then at 101th row you were able to access your book. Time wastage, resource wastage, money wastage, many things you have wasted over there. Okay, now come back. Now add a librarian in between. Now you want to have a book. What you do, go to the librarian, that I want this XYZ book. The librarian, librarian will do, he will check his records. Then he will check, okay, this book is placed at 101th row, desk number XYZ. He has given you the information. What you do, you go and whatever location was given by librarian, you go and access the book. Now do you take the book directly with you? No, you take the book, come to the librarian. Librarian will make a record. Okay, this book was taken by XYZ person, and librarian will assign that book to you. Now what librarian is playing? Librarian is checking his resources. Now under the resources he is checking, okay, we have availability. Then he is assigning that resources to the person. Now replace the librarian with kernel. Now think of the person who wants the book, think of that person as a process. Now the process wants to execute something. Now he reaches out to the kernel. Now kernel will go and look into the underlying resources. Do I have memory to execute this process? Do I have storage to store this process? Do I have compute to run this process? Kernel will go and check. Now kernel says, yeah, I do have. Now kernel will allocate those resources to the process. Now once the kernel allocates those resources to the process is running. The process could be anything. Just imagine you want to run a Tomcat web server. Do you run it directly? No, that is memory, CPU, storage, compute. This is all provided by kernel to you. When you run the command systemctl start Tomcat, so that is all done by kernel in the backend. Kernel is a mediator between your hardware and your processes. So kernel plays a very important role, is the main component in your operating system, and at its core it interfaces between a computer hardware and its processes. The communication, it communicates between the two, managing resources as efficiently as possible. Okay, makes sense? What does kernel do? The four things what kernel does very well: memory management, keep track of how much memory is used, stored, and where exactly it's getting used. Process management. Determine which process can be used the central processing unit, when and for how long. So your CPU usage is very vital over here, and kernel does that very efficiently. Kernel will decide which process will use the CPU, when exactly it will be used, how long it will be using it. Kernel will decide that, guys. If suppose your process it's in dormant state, what do I mean by dormant? It's not getting used right now. Kernel will take out the CPU uses from there and it will allocate to some other resources. Unnecessary, it will not waste your CPU. Keep that in mind. Unnecessary, it will not run your process and it will not waste your CPU. Device drivers. It will also act as a interpreter between hardware and process. System calls and security. It receives requests from services from the process. So this is what kernel does. Okay guys, so this is the main component. It acts as a mediator between your hardware and processes. Whatever you do, even a simple command, guys, even a simple ls command you're running, this is getting executed with the help of kernel. Okay, so that is what kernel is all about. Any questions over here about the kernel? What is kernel? What are the uses of kernel and things like that? Why do we use kernel? Okay, no problem. So now, as I say, Linux is open source. Not all Linux, guys. All is not open source. Now if you say Red Hat, so Red Hat is an enterprise version. Okay, now you will say, why do we need enterprise version if we have open source? I can easily go and use CentOS. Correct? If you use CentOS, that means you can work on Red Hat also. It's exactly same. Now many companies, they don't prefer open source. So there is a stigma that if it's open source, then it will have issues. And what will happen if my production is down and if I need any sort of support and all, where do I go? So keeping that in mind, what Red Hat did, very smartly they used the CentOS and they now launched a new version with a price tag to it, and that is known as RHEL. So as of now, RHEL 7 is the latest which we have, that is Red Hat Enterprise version of Linux. Okay, so that is not free. You need to go, if you're using RHEL, then you need to pay for the licensing, same like Windows, how you pay for licensing. Okay, but yeah, if you don't want to pay for licensing, you can still go with the open source, that is CentOS 7. Okay, so most of the companies, wherever you see Linux getting used, so they don't use open source version, they use Red Hat. And even nowadays, even Ubuntu has come up with enterprise version, so they prefer using all this enterprise version. The reason is clear, they need support. Think from the company's perspective, they need some sort of SLA signed, that if anything happens in future, they can catch someone. So yeah, there will be a agreement signed with RHEL. If anything happens, then you can reach out to RHEL and they can help you with the OS related support. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's move further. Let's create how exactly we'll be working, all these commands and everything, where exactly we will be working. So what I'll do, I'll be using a cloud platform. I can use my local system also, but it's better to use cloud because there are so many things you can do it on actual Linux machine, not on Windows. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll create an Ubuntu machine. This comes in free tier. As I said, Linux is very optimized. 1 vCPU and 1 gig of memory is more than enough. With 30 GB of space, that is more than enough to run a Linux machine. So all our commands and everything will run on it. So I'll be using this machine, the one which we are creating right now, for my Linux practicals. Okay guys, okay, while I'm creating, if anyone has any questions, please do let me know. Anyone, any questions guys related to Linux VM? I can use 2004 also, it's okay. It's free service eligible. You can just use password. Okay, so I just allow the port 80 and 22, review and create. See, this is the costing guys, 0.7493 INR per hour. Even though if you're not using free tier, this is very cheap. Okay, this is your operating system cost. If you just include the storage, it will come around 1 or 2 rupees per hour. Rupees, I'm not talking about dollars. Okay. Dollar, it will be somewhere around 0.10 cents or 20 cents or less. Okay. Let's wait. Anyone, any questions guys while we are waiting? Not just about Linux, anything. It's okay. Don't like wasting time. Okay, no questions. Let's wait then. Okay, perfect. We got this machine up. Here's my public IP. Okay, here it is. So I'll be using this bash shell itself to connect. Okay. As soon as I logged in, you guys see something, a black screen. So this is actually when you log into a Linux OS, this is how you see. You are logged in right now. I'm in my Linux VM right now, and you see a black screen with a cursor on it, which is blinking continuously. This is what called as terminal. What exactly it is? Terminal. Okay. And in this terminal, you're using a shell. What exactly is a shell? So shell is nothing but it's a program which acts as an interface between the user and the operating system. If you want to run any command, how kernel will come to know that you want to run any command? How exactly it's happening? All these commands are getting executed through a shell. So the black screen with a cursor which you see, it's a shell. It's an interpreter. So whatever you're writing, it's interpreting those commands and it is giving that command to the operating system. Then you're getting a response back. So this is called as shell. Now okay, so now there are multiple types of shell which you will come across. Shell is a program that takes command from the keyboard and gives them to the operating system to perform. So whenever you log in, as soon as I log in, I am logged in right now, correct? As soon as I am logged in, a user gets a shell assigned. So automatically based on your configuration, a shell will get assigned. Okay. So there are multiple types of shell which you will come across. Bourne shell. Wait. You will have Bourne shell. What exactly is Bourne shell? We'll talk about that. C shell, corn shell, G shell, born again shell. Okay. So Bourne shell is nothing but it's a shell written by I think Steve at AT&T Bell Labs. Most of the Linux development was done in AT&T Bell Labs, guys. Okay. So this is originally, this Bourne shell was from Unix. So they have copied the Bourne shell from Unix. It is much faster as compared to other shells, guys. But it has multiple feature. There are multiple features which is not there with Bourne shell, such as you cannot go and check histories. You cannot do auto completion and things like that. Okay, so this is quite a old shell which we're talking about. That's Bourne shell. Now C shell is, again, you call it C shell or TC shell, whatever you call it. Again, it has some additional features from Bourne shell, like you can add alias and all, and you can even have command history with C shells. Again, this is a old shell, guys. So this all shell, this is just, they differentiate with each other just with the features, additional features, what we have, things like that, nothing much. Okay, Corn shell, again, it has multiple features, like it has built-in arithmetics. You can do mathematics using the shell itself. It has she-like arrays. It can have functions. You can do string manipulation and many things you can do with this corn shell. And again, G shell is the advanced version of corn shell. But the one which we use at 101% time is bash. That is nothing but born again shell. With bash, these are the features what you see. Auto completion. What do I mean by auto completion? If I write any command, it will automatically complete it. For example, if I just write mk and do a tap, it will automatically, like suppose if I am creating any folder and if I want to auto complete the path, automatically it will do it. For example, let me show you. Let's create something called test file, a folder called text file. Okay, if I just do cd test and if I just do tap, one tap, automatically the folder name is completed. So this is what auto completion is all about. So as if now, what is the command we are using? What is the shell we are using? If you want to have a look, echo and shell, $shell. You have to be in caps. Echo $shell. Now you can come to know that currently I am using a shell called born shell. Born again shell. One of the feature is auto completion. The other feature is alias. What do I mean by alias? There are multiple times one of the command you will be running a lot. Like suppose you are running a date command a lot. But with alias, what you can do? It's a short form. You can do something like this. So if you just run dt, you will have the same output. See? So you are setting up an alias right now. So this is a lot we'll do when we run Kubernetes, guys, because in Kubernetes you'll be writing kubectl many times. So it's very hectic, like again and again writing kubectl. So I can just simply do kubectl to a k. If I just write k, it is equal to kubectl. Even in Docker, each command starts with docker. So it's very hectic sometimes. If you just want d to do the same thing, you can set up alias. Okay. So, but the life cycle, this alias will be only, the lifespan of this alias will be only limited to this terminal, this black screen. If I close this terminal and if I relaunch a new terminal, this alias will be gone. If you want this alias to be there even after the system gets rebooted, then there is a root file which I'll talk about, a boot file wherein you need to update this command. So that is something I'll talk about later. For now, imagine this lifespan of this alias which you have just set, it is limited to this terminal. If I close this terminal, launch a new terminal, you'll not have this alias. Just test. If you want to test it, let's close this. I need the public IP again now. Open bash. Okay, now if I just run dt, command not found. So the life cycle is limited to what, but if you want to make it permanent, there is a way out to do it, guys. Command history. Command history is a very important feature added in this bash. By running this command history, you can go and view all your previous command what you have executed. So whatever previous command you have executed, you can view by just running the command history. You can see what all commands you have executed. Okay, so this is all about shell, guys. This is all about shell. Okay, if you want to view all the shells which is there in your Linux machine, you can simply go and view it using cat etc shells. These are the shell: sh, bash, bin bash, rbash, dash, tmux, and these are the shell which you can use it. And if you want to change the shell, if you all like we have sh also. Sh is nothing but Bourne shell, guys. This is the older one, in which you will not have auto completion, you will not have alias, you will not have command history and all. These all features are not there. So such commands, if you want to use, then you can make use of Bourne shell. How do we change the shell in that case? If you want to change the shell, how do we do it? So if you want to change the shell, there's a command ch, that is chsh, change shell. Now it will prompt you for a password, test at 1 2 3 4 5 6 okay 7 8. Now it is asking which shell you want to change it. So which shell you want to change it? You want to change it to bin sh, correct? This one. We are currently logged in as bin bash, but you want to change it to bin sh. Change. Now if you run the command echo and you run the command shell, you'll still see the bin bash only. So can anyone tell me why the shell didn't change? We did the change, correct? We ran the command change shell, but I'm still able to see this older one. This is because you need to exit out of this and come log back in one more time. Then the shell will change. Okay, so I'm just exiting out of it and just logging in back. Now if I just run the command, see this, even this is not working. If you do a Control L, then your screen gets clear. This is just because I changed the shell. That is a feature of bash. This is just because I have changed the shell. Now this Control L thing is not working. Now let's verify. So there are many features in bash which you cannot find in any other shell. Bash is the latest shell which you will find in the market right now. Okay, now do you see the shell got changed? But definitely I'll not use this sh, guys. This is very boring. Let's change it back to bin bash. Don't worry about this bin and all what I'm putting right now. When we understand file system, at that time I'll explain you what is this bin folder and everything. Okay, just log in back again. Okay, now if you see my Control L is working. Control L is to clear the screen. Now if you want to verify echo shell, see, we are back into bin bash. Again, this is not permanent, guys. If you want to make it permanent, then there are multiple hidden files which you will come across. How do we... Okay, let's talk about these hidden files and all later. For now, that will add confusion to it. Okay, are we good till here? Are we good with shell, guys? Any questions with the shell? All the commands are given in the note. All the commands are given in my PPT which I have shared with you guys earlier. Go to the Linux section in the PPT and you will find all the commands whatever I am running right now. Okay. Any questions still here? Are we good? I know for them who has already worked on Linux, guys, this is very basic for you all. But these are good to know information. This could be a revision for you all. But yeah, this is definitely needed for the one who doesn't know anything about Linux. Okay. Let's run through some basic commands. Okay. How the command works? There are two segments: commands and argument. So this is what we are running command. This is a command. Okay. And with this I'm giving an argument to it. Like if I want echo hello world. So this is a command. Echo is a command. It's an internal command, and with echo I'm giving hello world. That's an argument. So this is how the command and argument gets divided. Echo is a command. Uptime is a command. With echo you're giving an argument hello. And you can even use options in between. Hyphen n stands for a new line. So the printing will happen on a new line if you're giving a hyphen n to it. See this. This is how it looks like if you're using hyphen n. Welcome to hello world. So this is your argument command. This is your argument followed by options. There are other commands also. Uptime. This is basically giving you information about your CPU load, your compute load. This is your system is up since this time. Last 21 minutes your system is up. One user is logged in, and this is the current load of your system. This is 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. This is the load which is showing. Last 15 minutes this was the load. Last 5 minutes this was the load. And last 1 minute this is the load. As if now nothing is running. So this is what. So basically these are the uptime commands. Okay. There are many commands which only a root user can access. For example, if you want to access something called etc proc file, if you want to access any system files, then only a root user can access those files. This user which I have logged in, it has root privileges. If you want to know who is logged in, so there is a command called who am I. Who am I command is the command which will give you an update who is logged in right now. Okay. Now if you want to know, but there are certain commands which needs root privileges. Like suppose if you're installing any packages, you will need root privileges, or if you're accessing any system or hardware files, then you will need root privileges, guys. How do if I want to give root privileges to this person, then I can make use of command called sudo. Sudo stands for super user do. Okay. So sudo command is the system will prompt authentication. So this will give the person a root privilege. Okay. So using sudo a person can do anything. Well, for example, if you remember when we were setting up Apache, okay, and when we install Apache, we were installing using sudo command. You cannot install directly. If you want to install Apache like this, apt install Apache. Do you see what is the error we are getting? Could not open log file. So this file where your packages are right now, you cannot access that file. What is the error? Permission denied. This is because you need root privileges. So if you want to do the same thing using, you just have to use sudo in front, and things will start loading. So the package is wrong, so it's Apache 2 as the actual package, but I don't want to install Apache, that's why I did it. But if you see, there's no error. as such, permission deny or such after using root. The only error I'm getting is unable to load package because the package naming convention is wrong. Okay, this is how you will give temporary root privileges. This is temporary. This root privilege is only limited to this particular command which you're running. This is how you will be giving temporary root privileges. But if you want to have root privileges, you want to switch as a root user itself, then there's a command sudo su. Su stands for switch user and dash. Done. Now if you see who am I, we are logged in as a root. Now you don't have to give sudo and all. You are logged in as an administrator. Okay, so that is what sudo command is all about. Let me exit out of sudo. Don't do so keep this in mind, guys. Never do things using by going inside root. Don't expose administrative access every time. Whenever there is a requirement to be as an administrator, then only go and use sudo su, or just use sudo and the command. That's it. Keep that as a practice in real time. Okay, let's exit out of this sudo and let's be a normal user, devopsmela. Okay, now if you want to view where exactly you are in right now, which path you are in right now, so there is a command called pwd. pwd stands for parent working directory, or you can also call it as present working directory. So basically it will give you the complete path. It will give you the complete path from the source till the place where you are right now. So where we are in home directory devopsmela. So we are in the home directory of devopsmela right now. So this is pwd, stands for parent working directory. Okay, so it will simply return the complete current path. So while we are covering complete current path, there are two things which we need to understand: relative path and absolute path. Okay, now what do I mean by relative path and absolute path? So like suppose, okay, let's keep the relative part aside right now. Let's understand some more basic commands for now. If I want to, like suppose, if I want to change the directory, okay, before changing the directory, if I want to create a new directory, how do I create a new directory? Let me delete this file for now. Okay, if I want to create a new directory, the command is mkdir followed by the name of the directory. What is the name you want to create? Let's create a name called test1. So this is a directory which gets created, test1. Okay, so in order to create a directory, the command is mkdir make directory and followed by the name of the directory. And if you see, very frequently I'm running this command ls. ls stands for long listing. Sorry, not long listing, it stands for listing. Okay, so it will basically list your files. So inside this folder, inside this devopsmela folder, how many files I have, if I want to list it, I can just simply do ls. ls stands for listing. It will list your files as well as directories. And if you want more information, then there is a command ls. You can use a flag -l. -l stands for long listing. So if you see it giving you more information, what exactly is this, we'll understand later. It is giving basically more information when the file was created and what is the name of the file. With the command -l, this flag is known as L, stands for long listing. If you're giving this flag L, There are multiple other flags you can use. T based, so it will list based on timings. Okay, so T stands for, is it will list based on timings. You can even use R stands for recursive. As of now I just have one folder, you cannot see any difference right now, but if you add multiple folders you'll understand the difference. Let me add multiple folders. See, I got multiple files now. Just see the long listing one first. Command test 1 2 3 4 5. If I just add R, it has done a recursive, so whichever got created and modified later, that is getting listed first. And if you add T to it, this is how, based on timings, it is listing things. Now you guys don't have to remember this command, guys. Even I don't remember. If you want to have, just do ls -help. This is how you can access the manual. Now if you see T, short for modification time, R reverse, capital R recursive, L long listing format, and this is how there are so many other flags which you can go and access using the command help. Okay, now the other command, these are very simple command, guys. Okay, make sure that you go and practice this command and be very familiar, because in the coming sessions I'll be using these commands a lot. When I'll be using git, I'll be using bash shell, and I'll be using all these commands a lot. Okay, okay, now if you want to change, like if where are we right now? We are in this folder right now, devopsmela, and all this is getting created inside this folder. If I want to go inside any of this folder, the command is cd change directory, and you can just have, and you can go inside those folders now. See this is cd. Cd stands for change directory. And if you want to come out of this folder, cd ... 2 dot will take you one directory behind. So if I just do 2 dots, what is doing, it took me back to devopsmela. Now let me have multiple directory created, layer directory, abc cde efg hij. With this -p option, I'm creating 4 levels of folders. I'll have abc folder, I'll have cde folder, I'll have efg folder, and I'll have hij folder. Now if you see cd abc, if I go into this, I'll have cde folder. Then if I go cd cde, I'll have other folders. If I go cd efg, I'll have other folder pwd, and if I go inside this hij, I'll have other folder. Where I am right now, where exactly I am right now, I'm inside this folder. Okay, so from source, this is your root, this slash what you see, this is your root. From this root you are there till hij, till this folder. Okay, now if you want to go back, like suppose you want to go back to cde, how do you go back? cd ... what ... does, it takes you one folder back. So if I just do run this command, it will take me to this, but I want to go over here, correct? So what I'll do / again ... So what this will do, this will take me 2 folders back. So this will take me to cde, correct? What I have to do if I want to go to home? How many dots? Guys, tell me how will I go to home directory? What are the command? What are the how do I go to home directory? Anyone? What are the commands? Guys, okay. Someone pinged me. I have to go and check the ping. Three dots, perfect. Yeah. So if I want to fall back to 3, I am inside home directory. If I go back one more folder, I am at the root. Where I am at the root. And not all the users will get access to this root. This is because this user which I am a root user right now, guys. I'll talk about how to add a root user and things like that later. But I got root. I am a root user. That is the reason I am able to access this folder. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now there was a topic relative path and absolute path. Okay, absolute path is the complete path from the root till the end. That is the complete path which you define. That is known as absolute path. Now if I want to go in home directory devopsmela folder ABC, so that is an absolute path which I'm talking about. So I have to do cd home directory devopsmela ABC. So this is how from the root till the end, this is what I'm talking about. This is called as absolute path. Complete path what you define, that is known as absolute path. So if I just do enter, then I'll be directly into ABC folder. This is known as absolute path. Okay, what is relative path? Relative path is nothing but the path from your current directory where you can go. Now I want to, in this I can just go to CDE folder, correct? So this is my relative path. If I can go to CDE, that is CDE, this is my relative path. Keep this in mind. We'll be using this absolute and relative concept a lot, and this is used a lot in scripting. When you do scripting, then this absolute path and relative path and everything you'll be using a lot. Okay, any other questions, guys? Do you have any questions till now? Okay, now if you want to fall back to your home directory directly, you can simply use cd and you can use this tilde sign. This tilde sign, you will find it on the extreme left of your keyboard above tab. Above the tab key, you see there is a tilde sign. You can come to this tilde using shift tilde. Using shift key and the tilde sign, you get this sign. If you use this shift tilde, it will take you to the home directory. Wherever you are, whichever folder you are, you just hit shift tilde, it will take you to the home directory. Like suppose I am somewhere in bin folder. I'm somewhere over here and I just did shift tilde. It will take me to the home directory. You can even do shift $home. Wherever I am, let's go back to bin. I'm in bin folder, okay, and if I just do a shift $home, it will take me to the home directory. Okay, this is very important, guys. So $home, again, very much used in scripting. Okay, what else? Okay, now this is how I showed you how do we create folders. Now how do I create files? So in order to create file, there are multiple ways, but the easiest way you can follow is touch command. Touch command will basically help you create file. Like if I want to create a file, file1, so it will basically create a blank file for you, file1. How do we verify if it's a file or directory? You can just do a ls-l and you can see it's a file, it's a directory, and it's a file. How do we identify this? This gets identified from here. So this is something I'll talk about tomorrow. Then you'll understand how do we differentiate whether it's a file or whether it's a folder. Okay. Okay, there are multiple absolute and relative path is given over here. An absolute path is a complete path from start to actual file. Relative path is defined as a path related to present working directory. So this is something we have seen it. Command types, there are internal and built-in commands. So these are internal commands, which is by default you come out of the box when you install Linux. These are some external commands. So if these commands are not there in your Linux flavor, you can go and download these commands. It's already there nowadays. It comes with a package, guys. So external commands are these commands, and the commands which you will install like Apache. Those are if you want to set up any commands, if you want to create any alias and anything as such, you can have your external commands also. And these are the basic commands which I was running till now. This list command, pwd, make directory, move, copy. A copy we have not done yet, touch, and things like that. Okay. So I'll stop over here, guys. So we'll continue Linux tomorrow again some bit set of commands, understand copy commands, move command, top command. How do we create users in Linux? How do we create root users in Linux? What is etc password file? What is etc shadow file? What is etc group file? How do we work with editors and everything? So there are many things which we need to cover. Okay, so we'll continue with Linux tomorrow. For now we'll stop over here and I'll take questions if anyone has any questions, and we'll continue from here. Anyone has any questions, guys? Okay, any questions till now? Just one command I want to show you. If you want to delete something, then there's a command rm. Rm is to remove, followed by the file name. What is the file name? And this is how you will be removing the files. And if you want to remove the directory, the command is rmdir. Rmdir stands for remove directory, and you can just have this way you can go and remove directories. So if you go in list, your test1 and the file is deleted. So rm stands for remove and rmdir stands for remove directory. If you want to do a force remove, you can make use of flag called rm f. F stands for force, and you can remove abc. See, if I just try to remove abc, what will happen? rmdir abc. It is not letting me remove it because failed to remove abc directory is not empty because I have multiple directory inside abc. There's a command tree which you can use. Tree is an external command. I don't know if tree is available in this or not. So it's not there. I need to go and install tree. What tree will do? It will give you the complete structure of that folder. Okay. If you use tree command. As if now it's not there, it is asking me to go and install. I will not install. We'll see it later. But if you want to delete abc directory, so this rmdir will not work. You have to make use of rm-f. F stands for forcefully removing abc. It's a directory, it's not letting me remove because rm it's for deleting files. Then you can use one more flag, r, recursive. Now this is gone. Okay, so it was not letting me remove because it's saying it's a directory. Directory deletion is rmdir, and with rmdir you cannot delete such directory which has multiple subdirectories, multiple sub-level directories. So you have to smartly use rf. R stands for recursive, F stands for forcefully, and it will recursively delete everything inside. Okay, yeah, so that's it from Linux for now. We'll continue Linux tomorrow. I think I'll need 3-4 sessions on Linux to cover all those basic commands and things like that. Tomorrow we'll have something very advanced, a bit of advanced, wherein we'll understand top command, we'll understand processes, we'll understand VI editor, we'll understand file system hierarchy, and many things we'll understand. Okay, That's it for me. This PPT is already uploaded on the drive, so anyone can go and access this, and make sure just to look into the Linux section, guys. Don't look to any other topic because you might tend to get confused. There are so many topics there inside this PPT. So just come directly to the Linux section, page number, slide number 22, and just focus on Linux. Don't go on all this. Don't go and look into Maven and all. This is something we'll do it in future. Okay, that's it for me. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know, or we can wind up for today. Anyone? Questions? I got 16 people. No questions? 14 now. Sebastian left. Okay. No questions, guys? Nikhil, Kishore, Hariram, Pawan, Sanjay, Saurav?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. Perfect, guys. So, I know this was very basic, but still, if you have not worked on Linux, please go through this command. Try running this command once, and that is more than sufficient. And tomorrow we'll continue with Linux. Thank you very much. Bye bye.